Shakur Stevenson says that he's waiting on Gervonta Davis to make that call. Obviously, he knows that Gervonta Davis is the megastar. It's honestly pretty cool to see Shakur Stevenson, giving credit where it's due, because a lot of fighters would say, I'm a bigger star than Tank, but Shakur is literally saying that he understands that Tank's the bigger star. He's the face of boxing right now, so it's on Tank to make the call if they're gonna fight. It doesn't matter if Shakur wants the fight, is what Shakur is saying. He's saying it doesn't matter if I want the fight. It's ultimately up to Tank, because if he's the face of boxing, he's the A side. As much as I'll want to fight him, it's up to him to really make that call and say, okay, I want to fight Shakur, and then they could get it popping. But if that doesn't happen, then there's no fight without the A side really, taking advantage, in the driver's seat and saying, all right, let's make this fight happen. So I'd be really, happy to see Shakur Stevenson and Tank fight. I think that's the big fight for both guys. If neither of them can land a Lomachenko fight, that's the really realistic fight at 135. If they really want to prove something to themselves and to the fans of the sport of boxing, they got to fight each other. Shakur and Tank is the fight to be made at 35. If we're going to talk about Lomachenko, that's fine. I've been a big advocate for that fight as well, but there's still going to be that excuse of Lomachenko was out of his prime. They're going to say this and that, even though he looked really good against George Kambosos and got that stoppage win. And you could tell, real boxing fans know that, he looked really good in that fight. But who's to say that he doesn't age overnight? And, that's where the criticism is going to come in. If Shakur beats him, if Tank beats Lomachenko, they're all going to discredit it. So realistically, if we don't want any excuses, we make the Shakur fight and then we make the Tank fight happen. Those guys got to fight each other, because ultimately there's not any excuse of Shakur not being in his prime. There's no excuse of Tank not being in his prime. So that's the fight to make, because these guys are young. They're ready to go. They definitely want to fight each other. There's a narrative for both guys. None of them have taken a loss. Obviously, Devin Haney used to be in that conversation, and he still is, but to a lesser degree now that we've seen him lose. I'm only putting the lose quotation marks, because we have to put an asterisk by this Ryan Garcia fight, because if Ryan Garcia did cheat, then obviously whatever the case may be, people aren't going to count it. But for me, and maybe I know this is a controversial take, but if I can see it happening once, I can see it again. So what I mean by that is, just seeing Devin Haney take punishment in general, it just showed me that I'm not sure how he holds up against a guy like Tank. I'm not saying he can't beat a guy like Shakur. Maybe he can, but against a guy with power, I just can't pick him over Tank right now. I think that it's just a very dangerous fight for Devin Haney, and I think Devin's in a tough position, and I always mention it in every video I talk about Devin. But when you're at a point in your career, when you're at 40, and he's only fought at that weight class 2 times. The first time it was easy to make weight. The second time against Ryan Garcia, Devin Haney had a difficult time making weight, and that was very apparent. When I went to the weigh-in, I saw Devin look very drained, and when he had to answer questions from the media, he was sipping water after every basically every sentence. So he's in a difficult position where, yeah, he's at 140 right now, but it's not easy for him to make 140. He's actually talking about moving up to 47, but if he moves up to 47 and he doesn't have the power, can he really compete with those guys at 47? Maybe he can box guys, but there's always going to be that risk of those are really hard-hitting guys. If guys at 40 could hurt you, why would you go to 47 where they probably hit harder and your power isn't really translating at 40 and you're going to go to 47? So that's the difficult position that Devin Haney is in. I'm still a strong believer that he's going to come back very, very well, and we're going to see great performances from him, but it has to be against the right opponents. I don't think he should jump straight in there with a guy like Subriel Matias, guys like Isaac Cruz or Teofimo Lopez, where these guys are really big punchers, especially not Tank. But I would like to see him fight his mandatory, Sander Martin, if that's the fight that has to go down next. I don't think it's a very fan-friendly fight for Devin. I honestly don't think it does much, but in the sport of boxing, we know that fighting your mandatory is something that we should do, because ultimately, if you're not fighting your mandatory, it's kind of like saying like the rules of boxing, what's the point of even having a mandatory? It's kind of like an unwritten rule, you know, but that gets broken all the time, you know, when it comes to mandatories. But still, you know, I prefer that Devin fights Sandor Martin as opposed to fighting a guy like Gervonta Davis, where, yeah, it's a very exciting fight and we all want to see it. But for me, I would like to see Devin get some confidence back before I see him back in there with the big dog, where it's very hard to, you know, bet on Devin to win a fight against a big puncher who really does carry that power. So even Sandor Martin's not an easy fight for Devin. You know, I don't think people understand that. Sandor Martin is also a really good fighter, and I'm not sure Devin would be able to hurt him. So that could be a competitive fight as well. The real question is, where is Devin Haney at mentally? Is he defeated? Is his confidence still there when he gets in the ring and he gets touched by a jab, a clean jab? Is he gonna, you know, start questioning his own chin? And if that's the case, that's a sign that, you know, you shouldn't even be boxing anymore if you can't take, you know, a clean shot. So, you know, you look at guys like Rolly, and as entertaining as they are, as talented as they are, and people are going to say, what do you mean Rolly's talented? You know, you guys got to remember, Rolly started boxing late, and to get to where he's at, you know, only having, you know, 30 plus amateur fights, which isn't a lot for the amateur system, and then going into, you know, the pros and getting big fights like guys like Gervonta Davis, Isaac Cruz, having those big fights, I think that, you know, that's testament to how talented and how entertaining Rolly Romero is. But, you know, just going back to Devin, there's just certain fights that I think that, you know, he should stay away from, at least for his return fight. You know, it's all about coming back and gaining that confidence again, because I know that his confidence it can't possibly be as strong as it was before the Ryan Garcia fight, you know, PEDs or not. And it's kind of messed up, because if let's say Ryan Garcia did cheat, and I'm not saying he did, but let's say if he intentionally took PEDs, Devin Haney's career, you know, is forever impacted by that. Whether Ryan Garcia took it intentionally or not, and it was in his system, who's to say that it did or didn't impact the fight? But it's kind of unfortunate for Devin, because no matter what, his career is negatively impacted by that, and his health, you know, and his mental health, more importantly. Is that confidence ever going to be there? You have to have a level of confidence in the sport of boxing, or else, you know, how are you going to beat anybody? And if he was hurt one time, you know, he's going to start to question himself inevitably. But he's got to get back in the ring and fight a guy that, you know, I'm not going to say supposed to beat, but, you know, someone that he knows he can beat, and do it, you know, impressively and in such a way that he's like, all right, I still got it. That was a fluke. Ryan Garcia cheated. He kind of has to trick his mind into saying that Ryan Garcia cheated and I didn't really lose. So there's a lot of big fights for Devin. We all know that. But I really do like the Shakur Stevenson fight with Tank, because these guys do have history. They really don't like each other. I think it comes more from a place of pride and the fact that they both deep down respect each other, but they have to hash it out in the ring to see who's really that guy. And I think I can't bet against Tank's power. As good as Shakur Stevenson is, he does possess the ability to beat Tank. It's just more so, I don't think that Shakur has the ability to stop Tank. And throughout that 12 round duration, you're telling me I got to bet against the fact that Tank's not, you're telling me that I'm going to have to bet against the chances of Tank landing that big shot throughout, you know, 36 minutes. And I just think that Tank probably catches Shakur at least in some point. It's such a hard fight for me to call, because, you know, Shakur's boxing and his ability to telegraph shots and know where you're at, you know, 2-3 steps ahead of, you know, yourself in that ring. That's something that can't be overlooked. But I just don't know how well he's going to be able to telegraph what Tank's doing. I think Tank is on another level. You know, Shakur's never fought anyone like Tank, and Tank's never fought anybody like Shakur. But, you know, Tank has fought Ryan, but at what cost? You know, that rehydration clause. And Ryan's not the best boxer in the world, but Shakur, you know, may very well be. You know, no matter what you guys say, he's boring, he's this and that. He's a really good boxer, and that's the reason why we want to see the fight. If he was really a bum and he was just boring, then no one would want to watch it. But I think we all still want to see that Shakur and Tank fight, at least at some point. But let me know in the comments who you guys got. I'm going to lean towards Tank by stoppage. I just think that he probably lands something on Shakur throughout that 12-round duration, because Shakur, I don't think, in my opinion, has the ability to hurt Tank, throughout that 12 rounds. And I think the opposite. I think that, Shakur would probably get hurt by a Tank in at some point, within that 12-round fight. But let me know in the comments what you guys think. Thank you guys for watching. Like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll catch you guys in the next video. Peace.
That's going to do it for another Naz Fight Media video, guys. Thank you guys so much for watching. It's been your boy, Matt Nabong, with another video. Hope you guys enjoyed it all. Thank you guys for the constant support. Salute to y'all always. It's been your boy.